We're going to be talking with Sarah Mulkoff, and she's with the Great Lakes. Everything is Great Lakes, right? Mm-hmm. It is the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association. And that's because they're going to be having their special event out at the Mason Fairgrounds on Friday and Saturday. And tell us a little bit, this is the Freedom Festival 2015.
Sure, yeah, this GLREA is presenting our Great Lakes Renewable Energy Annual Fair. So every year we host a Renewable Energy Fair. It's over 2 days, and it brings together a wide array of speakers, presentations, exhibitors, and it's just action-packed, fun for the general public, as well as the Friday part is more geared towards the professionals. So.
Oh, professionals, meaning people who are in the field of trying to do solar or some sort of renewable energy?
Yeah, the event has workshops over both days. There's about 14 workshops a day, and you can pick different tracks. And so you, it's a great way to become educated on everything from the marketing, from the contracting side of the work. We'll hear updates from some of our utility companies, both DTE, Consumers, and the Lansing Board of Water and Light will plan to be there. And you'll hear all about different steps people are taking towards evolving more renewable energy into their homes and businesses.
Well, it's an interesting era because, you know, I went to geothermal myself a few years back and used a company out of St. John's called S&J. And I have a 750-foot closed loop, double loop, where you run the, the idea is that on about 6 feet below the surface of the earth, everything is a nice steady 50-some degrees. And so you use it for cooling in the summer and you pull the heat in the winter. But you still end up sort of at the mercy of what some of the policies are in the state of Michigan. So where are we today with green energy in Michigan?
It's a very good question. And so part of what I do outside of GLREA is that I'm actually the Energy Program Director at the Michigan Environmental Council. And so I work on this on a regular basis, especially here in Lansing. And so currently our renewable energy portfolio standard, the PA 295, is set to sunset at the end of this year, the end of 2015. What we've had so far is a 10% renewable energy standard, that 10% of our electricity must come from renewables. We've actually already met that and are on track to continue growing our amount of renewable energy in the state. However, it's critical critical importance this year that we actually renew, and we hope to expand that law to continue the market development for more renewable energy in Michigan.
Would you like to see the standard set higher?
Yes, I mean, so far the 10% has been pretty good since the 2008 law, and as we go forward another 10 years or so with energy planning, we certainly want to see that increased at about the same pace that it has been at. So if we increase that standard by about 1.5% more each year.
Oh, I see. That's a good idea.
And what's also coming to a head this year is that the federal, from a federal lens, we're having the Clean Power Plan, and so there's some federal rules coming down from the EPA that will also require each state to reduce their carbon emissions from coal plants. And so we're at this position where we both have a federal rule and new state energy legislation coming together at the same time. So it's a big year in energy, and you certainly could hear more about it at the fair. We're going to have a whole breakout panel on state energy policy, and one of our featured speakers for that is Valerie Brader, who's the new director of the Michigan Agency on Energy, and so she's deep in the weeds on our next plans for hopefully expanding renewable energy in Michigan.
Does it make people a little nervous that the agreement is going to expire, because then it sort of opens Pandora's box for people who have all sorts of creative ideas about how they could get a piece of that? I mean, I'm seeing some ads already suggesting that if we're not careful, we're going to end up with an Enron type system here in Michigan where under the sort of guise of competition we risk having our electrical rates go kerflooey or...
Right. There's a lot of issues that are probably going to work their way into this new law. One of the other hot topics I think you're referring to is about electric choice.
Yes.
And people have the option to opt out of their traditional utility companies and go to an alternative electric supplier. So that's one of the issues, as well as the whole debate about are standards really necessary, or can we do our carbon emissions reduction and increase renewables without actually having numeric goals in place. My organization is strongly in favor of having goals that are attached to numbers, but that's part of the debate here in Lansing is can we get there with market-driven policies?
That does make me nervous. I do like the idea of the kind of accountability built in where you have benchmarks that you're making and that you're committed to.
Exactly.
What are we seeing? How is it shaping up in the legislature? And is it still too early to tell what the final product's going to look like?
It's been an interesting spring in terms of energy policy, and so basically it was active for a while, but as of last week, the legislature broke for their summer recess, and so they're on recess from about now the end of June until mid-September, and so they managed to get to this point without actually voting on any energy bills yet. There have been a whole series of bills introduced, mostly on the House side, and the chairman of Energy and Technology, Chairman Eric Nesbitt, has introduced a bill package, and he had several hearings on them, but they didn't even get a vote yet in committee. So basically the conversation is a little bit stalled for the time being. Pick up in September, and the fall will be a really busy time once again.
Do we have a clear picture of where the governor stands and how adamant he would be in getting his way?
It's a good question. Governor Snyder has been one of our probably strongest allies as far as elected officials, one of our best leaders. He talks about eliminating energy waste, and he talks about the importance of energy efficiency as well as affordability, reliability, and protection of the environment. He's outlined those goals in several of his speeches, including an address he gave in March this year. And so, we have confidence in the administration and the Michigan Agency on Energy that hopefully they're going to continue to lead this process and ensure that we have a long-term plan that does increase energy efficiency and renewable energy.
It's an interesting challenge because one of the things that I've looked at over the years, I've gone on some of the tours that have been held and so forth.
Right.
We do have a challenge in this state because we're around the coastline. We do fairly well with wind, not so much in the middle of the state unless it's a day like today and you can't store that much of it. At the same time, we also have challenges with solar. And putting in mixed systems tends to be expensive because you're really investing in two separate systems. So are we on the cusp now of major technological breakthroughs that'll make it more affordable for homeowners to have their own systems?
Sure. Since the first Michigan law passed in 2008, the technologies have been improving drastically, and the cost of doing both wind and solar systems has come down dramatically. And so the costs these days are almost comparable for generating solar power than it is to burning traditional coal, as we have been for a large part of our portfolio. And so it's become incredibly price competitive, and I think those technologies will continue to evolve. That's also part of what you'll hear about at the fair is the current state of solar and wind in our state. What's interesting here in Lansing, the Board of Water and Light, for instance, put out a bid to do a 5-megawatt solar project, and they actually decided to increase that and build a 20-megawatt solar project. And so I think you'll be hearing about that pretty soon. A large part of why they did that is because the price was competitive, and it was the right way to approach it.
Well, there's a big question mark about whether individuals should be doing it or the power companies should be doing it. We've seen in other states that in an effort to discourage individuals from going that route, they have said that even if you put in your own sustainable power, you're still going to have to pay a monthly fee to the power company, which has quite a few people outraged at the idea that kind of they wanted to get off the grid, not become part of the grid. On the other hand, we see energy companies that encourage people to do their own systems and then sell back surplus power to them. So, I mean, where are we headed with that issue in Michigan?
It's a hot topic for sure, and that's starting to work its way into legislation as well. What we have currently is net metering. So there's actually we call it net metering when individual businesses or homes can produce their own electricity and feed it back into the grid onto a separate meter. But there's a cap on how much electricity that you can actually produce and put back onto the grid. So we would want to raise that cap and allow more and more self-generation, distributed generation, and net metering of that sort. So it's starting to work its way into bills, legislation, but also part of the problem is the thought that those homeowners and businesses should also be paying the fixed costs that are part of maintenance of the grid and the infrastructure, the electric infrastructure too. So it's a little complicated. I know I think it's Upper Peninsula representative is particularly interested in this net metering issue and allowing more of their residents to do so.
It is. It's a real challenge because we do have to maintain the existing infrastructure even as we're making the transition. And a lot of people who have their own system still have to rely on the prevailing system for at least part of their power part of the time. So that's going to be very interesting. So the Friday events are mostly the vendors and the people who are the manufacturers and the vendors in that business. Saturday is more for families and individuals?
Sure, it's kind of all of the above. Both days the exhibit hall will be open from 9 a.m. until 5. And the exhibit, you can look at on our website and see all of the vendors that are already signed up to be there. And they're there to make sales, to actually talk to you about putting solar or something on your home. So it's a place to do business, and also largely it's about education. It's about just kind of talking to the experts in the field. Like I said, there's workshops on both days.
Give me an idea of some of the workshops.
Sure.
I know one of them.
Yeah, I believe
Saturday
you're leading
morning
one.
at 9 o'clock. If anybody, the first people who get there will be getting a free tomato plant from me, because we're going to be talking about saving civilization one tomato at a time. If you grow them on your front porch, the food miles turn into food feet in order to get out there to get your tomato. So it is the food, the energy system, the energy infrastructure required to produce food is enormous.
Exactly. It's a really important nexus. We're glad that you're there speaking on that. I mean, this is largely about renewable energy, but we also have people focus more on geothermal or on energy efficiency. Like, we'll have updates from the utility companies. A bigger theme this year is definitely on solar and community solar. So there'll be several breakout discussions on that. On Saturday, we're actually starting a new network called the Solar Users Network, abbreviated SUN, SUN. And so for those that gather, we actually have bumper stickers to give out, largely just to continue to educate each other about our experiences, about homes and businesses that have done solar and how it's working for them and the benefits they're seeing, and just sharing stories. So that's a pretty exciting part on Saturday. Another difference is that we have a major scholarship drawing. That goes along with our keynote speaker. And so the scholarships actually go towards graduating seniors, high school seniors going into college, towards a college education fund, those that are going into STEM-related fields, STEM curriculum. So we'll be doing a drawing for those scholarships on Saturday.
You wouldn't be willing to make that steam and throw arts in the middle? Some of us worry a little more about how, if we're going to, some of us think we may be headed to hell in a handbasket anyhow as we enter the sixth extinction. At least we could have some nice music and art as we go. So.
Well, that's certainly part of the fair too. We do try to explain to people this is not your typical trade show nor expo. This is a fair. It's largely about a fair atmosphere. And so in addition to all the workshops and speakers, we also have some local artisans. I know there'll be some crafts. There's also music. There's music on both days, as well as Saturday. There's going to be great food, also food carts, and
I know they had to do a bit of a change in the lineup on the music. Do you know who the new musicians will be? I think it's the Grand
River Band.
Yes.
I believe you're right. Not positive on the latest on that.
Yeah.
But I do also know that Seth Bernard and Daisy May will be traveling down and playing for us part of the day on Saturday.
Oh, great. That'll be wonderful.
Saturday during the day. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, Saturday is a little bit more geared towards the family. This is everybody's welcome both days, but the real general open to the public day is Saturday. And another unique feature is on Saturday we're having a really robust kids tent area. And so there's we've had volunteers working really hard on developing great curriculum for kids to actually learn about renewable energy and do hands-on art projects and things like that related to renewable energy. So full day of kids activities. I think that runs from 10 a.m. to 2 on Saturday. And another neat part about Saturday is that we're doing an electric vehicle showcase.
Really? Oh.
We're partnering with the Michigan Electric Vehicle Association, and so we'll have, I think it's about 15 different types of cars that are electric, and so that could be anything from the Chevy Volt to I know a few Teslas will be there.
Really?
And so some of the car companies have partnered with us, and we'll be giving test drives and things like that. So a chance to see some of the electric vehicles face on also.
I have never seen a Tesla in person. That would be
I haven't either. I'm really looking forward to it. So.
You are listening to LCC Radio, WLNZ 89.7 here in Lansing, Michigan. We're talking with Sarah Mulkoff of the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association about the upcoming fair at the Mason Fairgrounds, the Freedom Festival 2015, that's going to be there on Friday and Saturday. And there is a dinner on Friday night?
Yes, we've partnered with the local Mason VFW, and so they're hosting a dinner event in which you can buy tickets for, I believe it's $8 or $12 for dinner tickets.
We can't talk about that on the nonprofit show, unfortunately. I mean, seriously, the FCC regulations won't let us tell people how much things cost.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
We won't do that. But
Sure. So the VFW is helping host this dinner event, and there'll also be some alcohol sales as well as non-alcoholic drinks. And so the evening is more of a reception. There'll be music and there'll be some entertainment. So it's bound to be a really good time.
That sounds like a wonderful time.
The dinner event is also indoors. It's at the community hall. We're between a couple of venues at the fairgrounds, but it'll be both indoors and outdoors.
So that's going to be, how many people have you had in previous years? You said you've been doing this for about 15 years.
Right. We've had thousands of people, I think around maybe 3,000 to 5,000 at our peak years. And the thing is, this Renewable Energy Fair, it's moved around. So we're really happy to be returning to the Ingham County Fairgrounds. This is our second year in Mason.
Yeah.
But previously we did the fairs for several years up north in the Manistee and Ludington area, even Traverse City. We've also tried the Detroit area. We've gone down to Novi. So we're really glad to be back at the Ingham County Fairgrounds. It's a great host site.
It is. It's really neat out there, and it has like maybe the right atmosphere for a fair.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So we want to remind everybody that they can go to your website, and that would be?
Yep, it's the GLREA.org. That's it. And there's plenty of information up there about the fair. We also have a Facebook page and a Twitter account that are the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association.
Sounds great. And if you want to see me, you're going to have to get up early and show up at 9 o'clock in the Crops and Sciences, I think it's called,
Yes.
the Crops and Sciences building. So I'm going to be hauling in a whole bunch of stuff, including all those tomatoes to give away. So that'll be great.
Wonderful. Look forward to
thank
seeing you.
Yeah, I'm going to have fun.
Thanks.
Thank you.